Loaded
9 of...
Sport.
Oh.
Does he sit second then?
No, I don't think he does. I think Kevin Keegan probably sits second.
Oh my God, what a scandal.
Austin Eckler versus the Cards. Go and fuck the lot of you.
God, Eckler.
He's making me like I'm some sort of cameo, like I've come in and go, hand out the bag, England to win.
Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Loaded Sport, where today we're going to be reviewing the championship games of the National Football League season, as well as that looking back at the FA Cup fourth round games. Joining me to go through it, ahead of talking about darts later on in the week, one of them's experienced darts for the first time playing it. I'm going to introduce you first. Sam, how are you doing and how did you find the darts?
Oh, good mate, loved it. Little trip to Lennon's on a Friday night up in Chesterfield. Went to play some darts, didn't we, with the boys? And yeah, loved it, mate. First official game played, and I am 1-1 because obviously I lost the second game, so can't win them all.
It's all right, considering we went there and all you were doing was playing down how good you actually felt you were. I'm going to introduce Skin now because I'm feeling he's going to agree with me that you're a lot better than you let on. Skin?
Yes, mate. I'll tell you what. When Sam started pinging in doubles and winning legs out of nowhere, I couldn't speak. It was just
you
fucking
were mopping big time.
Oh mate, I couldn't believe it. He was like scoring with just like he didn't look out of place compared to rest of us because I used to play darts quite a lot, but I'm not going to pretend that I was at any kind of decent level. It was all right, but that was it. And Sam never really stood out as being bad, and then all of a sudden, I reckon he were about 76% on doubles fit night. He was unbelievable at it.
Far off that, wasn't it? He was very effective.
Yeah, so I think in future, if we play doubles, I'll get him down to finish and then let him crack on with the rest.
But I reckon
the reverse plan, weren't it? But
I reckon when you've spent a couple of weeks practicing from 10 foot, that extra 2 foot being knocked off changes the game completely for you.
That's it, mate. 9 foot, mate. Come on, give me some credit.
9 foot. 9'7", wasn't it? So very close.
It's
well
a good
done.
5 inch, that, mate. And if anyone knows how long that is, it should be you. So I expect you to get it right in
I
future.
do, don't worry about me.
Need every inch.
There we go. Starting off things by talking about the FA Cup fourth round. We'll start by the game that took place on Friday. Arsenal, Manchester City, two sides that everyone's expecting now to just go on and walk away from everyone else in the Premier League and battle for that Premier League trophy. It was the first glimpse we've really got to see Arteta against Guardiola this season. They've still got to play each other twice in the league. So, Skin, I'm going to start with you because not too long ago you saw Arsenal beat Manchester United and you said it changed your allegiance over to Arsenal winning the Premier League. Has the performance against Man City or the result from Man City changed that back at all?
It's hard to say. We spoke about in the preview show about the strong teams that they'll put in a statement in terms of their intentions in the league and all that kind of stuff. And we did see that there were a couple of changes per side, but I think if either of them were to play the teams that they played in a Premier League game, you wouldn't really look twice, to be honest. They were very strong across the board. So again, it's hard to say. Arsenal have got a big gap. Their next game is very important now in terms of what that does for their confidence. But it's a cup that they're out of now. It's one less game that they have to worry about. City have got Europe. City, to be fair, they've been drawn against Bristol City away in the next round. So it's an opportunity for them to rest players. So it doesn't really matter too much, I wouldn't have thought. But I don't know. Other subjects that we'll get into soon, I think will have potentially more of an impact on City than this defeat up for Arsenal will have on them. So yeah, I'm inclined for now to stay with switching. I don't want to just. It took a lot to get me to change from City, so I don't want to start getting trigger happy and switching back on the basis of one game. Sam, what's your thoughts?
No, yeah, you do right. It's not changed anything for me either. I think it's a one-off cup game. They played well as well. Let's be fair, Arsenal. They went toe to toe with him, and it were. I think we actually called it on the Thursday show. It was just a cagey. Well, yeah. I didn't. I thought it'd be quite goal heavy, but I think you and certainly Chris both said about it being quite a cagey affair, and that's exactly what it was. And it just shows that Arsenal are on a par with City this season, whether people like it or not. Whether Mr. Kemp, I know he's not with us tonight, you probably noticed by now, but like to admit it or not, Arsenal are on a par with City, and it showed it in that game. It was obviously at the Etihad, and it was a really close game. And yeah, if anything, it's probably doubled down the fact that, like Dawson said, it's a game less for them now. It's doubled down the fact that they can go on and win it. They can compete with City at the highest level.
That's what I was just about to ask you, because last week I asked the question when we were talking about Newcastle United, Manchester United going to the EFL Cup final, the fixture congestion for Manchester United. Would that work as much of a benefit for Newcastle heading into that final? In a similar situation now, of course, Arsenal are out of the competition, like you say. Looking at February itself, Arsenal now have 2 fewer games than Manchester City, allowing them to put all their focus into the Premier League. At the end of the day, the fans are going to be happy if they walk away as Premier League champions. Naturally, that's going to happen. So do you think that now gives more of an edge to Arsenal, like you say, without that fixture congestion?
I mean, obviously it does. There's obviously going to be some kind of edge. You play more games, you've got twice as much likely to pick up an injury. So there's just common sense in that. However, I think it'd be more concerning if it was roles reversed and it were Arsenal having to play 2 extra games than City. City have got a far deeper and a far better squad than Arsenal. If Arsenal were having to go through what City are going through, I would be concerned. But because it's City having to go, I don't think it's going to be a great equaliser, as you say. I still think just 2 games less with the size and quality of depth they've got, I don't think it's going to affect them too much. But obviously, we'll see.
I think that's a great point.
Okay, and another game that took place this weekend that I think stole a lot of the headlines is that Wrexham once again made it onto a televised game. I'm not bitter about it at all. It is what it is.
You don't sound it.
Well, I suppose, and Sam, say if you disagree, but given that Wrexham do play in the league and that they do on paper have a bigger advantage over teams around them, one of them being your Chesterfield, put the question out there in the subject, and I think it's fair for you to take it away in terms of opinions on the subject.
Myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
you're the only Chesterfield fan here, mate.
No, I didn't know what the question was.
That's why I said ask the question and then start by answering it yourself.
No, for me, it was just more of the performance that Wrexham...
You don't know what the question is. We don't even. You're meant to be asking it.
I thought you meant you was going to ask me a question. Sorry. Right, okay. No, my point... Like, it's been a long day. Right, Wrexham against Sheffield United finished 3-3 in the end. I think the bit that I really want to focus on is whilst it was televised, there wasn't the use of VAR, and I know I mentioned a couple of weeks ago.
We had a big discussion about this, didn't we?
Yeah, and this is what we say in these sort of games. You've got to stay consistent within the competition. And Wrexham had 2 penalties turned down. One I think was a bit soft, and had it been given as a penalty, you'd probably find an argument in the Blades' favour. But the second one, I think VAR would have overturned that, and Wrexham would have had a penalty.
I agree.
And ultimately, it would have changed the course of the game. And the fact that it didn't means that now they've got to go to a replay to Bramall Lane. We know what happens in replays when sides go back to their home grounds and they're the bigger sides, or on paper bigger sides, however you want to swing it on this occasion. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward that Sheffield United beat Wrexham now and that their fairy tale comes to an end. But their performance from a National League perspective against that of second in the Championship, brilliant. Sheffield United, goes without saying, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I've seen a lot of stick on social media over this last since the game, saying about how can you call it a fairy tale? Wrexham have got almost a Championship budget. And people just aren't gathering the fact that they was on the brink. Wrexham were. They was literally about to fold. They were about to lose the ground. They've won the lottery. That's exactly what that could have happened to any team in that league. Could have happened to Chesterfield. It'd be just as random if it were Chesterfield getting taken over instead of Wrexham. And they've won the lottery. And I just, how can you not love that? For me, you're probably going to completely disagree with this, Ag, and fair enough. I get it because obviously you're right on their level in regards to competition. But I love it. I think them getting a takeover. I can't wait to see how far they can get with that ownership and how high up the English football pyramid they can get.
We've all done it. We've all played that game, haven't we? Whether it's on a FIFA career mode or a football manager, we've all done it. And like you say, that's kind of the real life version where they've won the lottery and they've now got these funds. And they're instantly going to attract better quality players because of the project and the potential. And it'll be interesting to see how far that goes once they get into League Two. If they can get into your League One, maybe a Championship. Like you said, all part of the fun is seeing how far they can go. But you can't. I suppose it's just one of them things, isn't it? If anyone would love to win the lottery, anyone would love to see their club in that position, and they'd be loving it if it was the case. But when it's somebody else, there's always that little bit of jealousy and
when it's your neighbour.
Not fair. Yeah, that's it, mate. That's exactly what it is. But look, I'm all for it. I'd rather this than a team going under, like some of the football clubs we've unfortunately seen go under over the last few years, and even like you said, Sam, Wrexham being close to it themselves. So I'll take this over that any single day. But yeah, what a great result. Agam, I'm just interested. You brought up the VAR thing, and very similar to Chesterfield in the third round. Chesterfield, same level as Wrexham, hosting a Champions League club, an informed Championship club, in West Brom. And if VAR was in place, Chesterfield would have been playing in the fourth round this weekend. Same with Wrexham, as you said there, hosting an informed Championship team. If VAR had been in place, they'd be straight through and playing at home to Spurs in the fifth round after the draw. So, what do you think? You've been the biggest sort of objector of VAR whenever we've had discussions about it. You like the flow and everything else that you've discussed in previous episodes. So now we've seen two clubs almost be heavyweights compared to where they're at currently, and have that taken away from them because they haven't had VAR. Has your thoughts on VAR being in the game as a whole changed at all?
No, it's probably strengthened my argument for it. We had the conversation before about, and it has, because if it's that case of you've got to get rid of it throughout the entire competition. There's been a couple of games this weekend that have been played that had it.
I meant your thoughts on it being involved in the game. So forget about the fact that in the FA Cup some have it and some don't. You've always said that you don't want VAR at all.
Correct.
But if VAR was it across the board and Chesterfield had it, they'd have been in the FA Cup fourth round this week. And like I said, if Wrexham had it, they'd be going straight to play against Spurs and wouldn't have to have a replay where they come up to Sheffield and obviously have to probably not get through based on recent history and how that trend goes. So surely you would be more inclined to say, yes, VAR has its uses and should be in the game because of the massive difference that not having it is making.
It does have its uses, and if they're going to use it, they've got to get it right, and they don't. And that's what I think the issue is. There's so many faults and errors and problems still with VAR that they're not at a point where they can really utilise it and make it worth its while. And like we've just said then, there's some games this past weekend that have used it, some that have not. So, bin it entirely from that competition. It shouldn't be used in that sort of consistency. And I'm looking at this from a neutral perspective, not from, it could have worked out in Chesterfield's favour, so therefore VAR amazing, it should have been involved in our game. I'm looking at it as a neutral, thinking that it's kind of ruining the game. That there's so many now ifs, buts and maybes about questionable offside decisions and things like that, and whether there's a handball here or there, and let it just be down to the referee making these decisions. Very soon there'll be no need for referees whatsoever, and the guy in the middle at the moment, or the woman in the middle at the moment, doesn't really have too much of a say what's happening because they're constantly being looked over from VAR. And I think sometimes they're worried about making the decisions that could make mistakes, and they're waiting for VAR to correct it anyway. And it looks worse on them if they're making a decision that VAR's then changing their mind about. It might be getting the odd thing correct here and there, but as a whole, I think VAR's just not being used as well as they originally advertised that it would be. I know last time, Sam, you said that it's kind of making things much better. I know your opinion of it. I don't know where you sit with it at the moment, looking at how the FA Cup games have gone, but for me, it's a case of they need to look over a lot of what VAR is working through and make it consistent throughout all levels and make it successful. They're still making errors here and there, and it's just not clear to so many people. And you see on BBC, when you see on Match of the Day, you'll see so many complaints come from the pundits, the supporters, that just aren't happy with how VAR is being used.
No, but the subject you're referring to only strengthens my argument, I think. The thing they also mentioned about the obviously injustice with Chesterfield, man, obviously West Brom should have been down to 10 men, went on to score. Wrexham should have had a penalty. You said it yourself, it was pretty stonewall. Second one, maybe not so much. These are all things that VAR would have 100% sorted out. Yes, you're right. There's still a long way to go, I think, with VAR to try and cut out that.
I think it has.
Grey area.
I think Agam's opinion of VAR seems to be what VAR was 12, 18 months ago. Like, it has got a lot better.
Yeah.
But
it's got better, but that's not the point. To me, it's got to be on point. Like, we refer
but surely so have referees. Like, you've got to remember the whole reason we're having this discussion is because referees and there's not just, you said about the person in the middle of the pitch. It's not just that. There's a fourth official. There's two lines people as well. Like, it's not just down to the person in the middle. Yes, it's their ultimate decision to blow a whistle, but There's other people around the pitch that have the ability to impact and influence a decision. And the whole reason that we're having this discussion is because they keep getting it wrong. And we're talking about 2 games here. We're talking about 2 games where a non-league club has been pretty much had a win
Shafted.
taken off. Yeah, pretty much shafted from having a massive win against a championship. I keep wanting to say Champions League, championship club.
Maybe one
To
day.
get through to a cup, the money, like, yes, it's going to mean more to Chesterfield and Wrexham getting that influx of cash for, you know, a 5th or 4th round and a 5th round tie. But it's beside the point. It's going to mean much more to them than it would a top half championship club. But you're focusing on VAR doesn't work or it makes too many mistakes. But the whole point we're having this conversation is because the officials on the pitch that are meant to make the right decisions aren't.
Yeah,
Don't give me-
I'd understand it if it were a VAR decision that had gone bad, but it's if anything, it's a decision that should strengthen the argument for VAR because it's just a blatant penalty that's been missed.
There have been instances where they've got it right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that every single time VAR is used, it's incorrect. What I'm saying is it's not as effective as they originally advertised it to be. They're still ironing out some mistakes, but as a system, VAR is still making the occasional error and creating controversy. If there was no controversy about it,
You're struggling with that word, aren't you?
Fucking mate. It's an absolute
Controversy.
nightmare. You know the word.
Controversy.
You know the word I'm trying to say anyway.
So I can't say it, mate. I've been trying to say Champions League about 20 times other than Championship. So.
You're both pissed.
But yeah, my point remains the same. I think that if they've got it on point, we're absolutely fine. Let's use it. But my argument's always been that if we're going to use VAR, we need referees to explain to the stadium. They do it in rugby and they do it really well. Explain the decisions that you're making.
They do it in NFL, don't they?
They do it in the
I
NFL,
think
yeah.
they more explain the foul, don't they? Than
I do like that element of it. I think one final thing to say on the subject is I think last season they revealed the stats. VAR got about 96% of its decisions right. There was a 4% of incorrect decisions. You put that to a referee, I think that percentage is a hell of a lot different.
Yeah, maybe so.
I would rather if over a game VAR made one mistake, I'd rather that than officials making 3-4 mistakes. Surely that's one's better than the other. Yes, it might not be perfect, but
human error. You can put it down to human error. The machine shouldn't be making the errors. Human error is allowed in the game of football. It happens.
Well, it's not. But we're having this discussion because humans are making big errors now, and it's. But anyway.
We're obviously never going to agree on this matter, so let's agree to disagree.
Yep.
Let's wait until playoff final. Chesterfield are in it, and they get absolutely shafted on a penalty at last minute, and then we'll revisit it.
Comes crying back.
Oh well, then it'll be a completely different story, won't it?
VAR!
Actually, well, it depends where it is, but they might have VAR there. So
playoff final, we will do. Yeah, don't worry. We've just got to get there first. Right, let's talk about the transfers. The transfer window is drawing to a close, which means Chelsea have still got a chance to spend over 100 million on players they probably don't even need, including 105 million for Benfica's Fernandes was one of the bids that they put in. We're going to start, we'll come to that one in a minute, in Chelsea's erratic spending, but we're going to start by talking about the departure of Cancelo from Manchester City, someone that had broke himself into that starting lineup and I think had become quite an integral part of that Manchester City side. So it comes as a bit of a surprise to see him leaving from absolutely nowhere.
Absolutely, from RKO out of nowhere. Just
watch out!
watch out! What the where did that come from? There's got to have been something that's happened behind the scenes over the weekend that Pep's just gone straight red. I don't want to.
Well, apparently that is the rumour. You know, like you said, it came out late morning, maybe was it? Very early afternoon. This is the rumour. A couple of hours later, it was a done deal. Like, what the fuck? Like Adam, you said about him being an integral part. We talk a lot about City's depth and the ability to change positions and not really lose quality, but him alongside, say, your Edisons, your John Stones, your Haalands, your KDBs was, I suppose, part of the undroppables of that team. That no matter what changes they might make, he was going to be a part of that 11. So, yeah, the rumor is, 100%, and the rumor is that it's come out since, which would make sense and explain the complete randomness and quickness of it all. Is that Cancelo was made aware that he wasn't going to start against Arsenal. He basically said to Pep, like, play me, I want to play. And he was like, no, I'm not playing you. And he was like, I want to leave then. And he was like, all right, see you. And then 3 days later, he's completed a loan move to Bayern Munich for the rest of the season with an option to buy for think it was 60 million, 70. It was 60 or
Option to
70
buy as
million.
well,
I
is
think.
they?
Yeah, 60 or 70 million euros. Can't remember off the top of my head at the end of the season. So yeah, apparently
Jesus.
it all comes down to Pep was dropping / resting him in the FA Cup, whatever you want to call it. Cancelo wasn't happy. Pep said, "Don't give a shit," and called his bluff. And yeah, 3
Well,
days
to be
later, it was
honest,
gone.
with you, I've got a feeling. I didn't know that at all, but I've got a feeling now you've said drop / rest. I've got a feeling he could have potentially been dropped because he's been awful this last
Yeah.
month. I remember watching him. I think it were against Southampton and a couple of other. Basically, every game that City have dropped points on, he was a massive part of the reason why they was dropping points. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't have surprised me if Pep's just kind of lost a bit of faith in him. He's dropped him, and he's obviously not been man enough to take it and not fight for his place back. And Pep's not going to stand for that shit, as we know from his past decisions.
Yeah, I think he's been such a huge part of that Man City side. I mean, he's been playing out of Kyle Walker, hasn't he, really? Because he got moved to left back to accommodate the departure of Zinchenko. And
Yeah.
then I think before that, he was playing right back and he was keeping Kyle Walker out of a place. And Kyle Walker's, for me, still one of the better right backs within the Premier League.
I'd say so.
So he's done phenomenally well. So to see him leave came as a bit of a surprise. What didn't come as a bit of a surprise is Chelsea's decision to try and sign yet another midfielder. This time looking for Fernandes from Benfica. Of course, the deadline is at, I think it's 11 p.m. on the 31st of January. So there's still a bit of time for this to go through. However, the Benfica manager, Roger Schmidt, has said that the pursuit is closed and it's not happening. First of all, what is your thoughts on Chelsea looking for yet another midfielder? Do they have more urgent places to look at signing players for? Or do you think that maybe 105 million is a bit of a crazy amount to splash out? Skin, I'll
A
start
crazy
with you.
amount.
Or Sam?
He's not played many professional games in the grand scheme of things. I don't know about you, Dawson. I'm absolutely bored, up to fucking sick. I can't even get my words out. Sick to my fucking teeth of talking about Chelsea and their spending. This transfer
it's got to
window.
be a money laundering front. Like, I know their owner's loaded, but I don't understand what's happening. Yeah, they spent a shitload in the summer. They're spending. I think it was Chelsea. Saw a stat earlier. Chelsea in this transfer window alone have spent more money than the rest of the top 5 leagues combined. Like every team in that. So yeah, it just seems to be the buyer player, massive money. Don't really know why, and then all of a sudden it's someone else. They're signed. Then it's someone else, and they're signed. And then Enzo Fernandez right at the death of the transfer window. It looks like they've triggered his release clause, which is £105 million or 120 million euros that will be on his contract. So look, from what we saw in the World Cup, great player. He was integral to the Argentina side. One young player of the tournament. So is he going to be an improvement to what they're doing already? You would say yes, based on that. But it seems very erratic, and something's got to give at some point. I kind of see this as like the NFL comparison of LA Rams giving away all their first round picks for elite players, and then at some point, 3-5 years down the line, they've got so much money on their books, something's got to give, and we've seen that this season with the biggest ever drop off from a Super Bowl winner. Like, yes, it's all well and good now. Yes, it might turn around the fortunes for Graham Potter in their league form, and it might put them in a good place for next season. But what about 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 4, 5 years' time? All these players that they're bringing on massive money on 7-8 year contracts, like something's got to give at some point down the line.
I think the ironic thing is this is probably their best signing of the transfer window.
Yeah, I would agree.
If they'd have made it as a one-off signing, everyone would have been raving about it. But it's just because it's like the 10th signing, and just chucking in money at yet another player. It just where are they going to play them all? There's only 11 men.
All this to sack the manager in 4 months' time, anyway.
Yeah, well, stranger things have happened at Chelsea, haven't they? But yeah, like I said, I think it's a really good signing, and but I just I don't know. I've got really fucking bored of talking about Chelsea just lately.
Right. One last transfer story I want to talk about, and then we can move on. I promise. It's very minimally including Chelsea, but it did drum up a little bit of debate in the group chat, and that is Moises Caicedo. I believe I pronounced that wrong, but it wouldn't have surprised me. Caicedo from Brighton. Now, there was, of course, he's requested a transfer away from Brighton. Not long after that had happened, Arsenal last night had a £70 million offer for him rejected. So your thoughts, first of all, on him making that request to leave Brighton. Is he well within his rights to do so? Of course, with or should I say, Brighton then rejecting multiple offers from Chelsea, yes, but from Arsenal as well for him.
I'll let Dawson take this one first.
Okay. I'll keep it short, mate, because we've spoken about this privately. I know it's the listeners haven't heard the opinion, but we'll crack on with it. Why not? Football teams aren't loyal to players. This is a career where they're paid up until the age of 35, let's say, anywhere between 30 and the late 30s, depending on ability and everything else. So why not? He is a player that, when he signed, was on a contract of £3,500 a week, which, as we know in today's standard, is very low. And the rumour is that right now he's around £15,000 a week. Now, I had to listen to Kemp going on yesterday about how £15,000 isn't to be sniffed at and all this kind of stuff. And my point and my response is that it's relative. Sam, if you walked into it tomorrow and your salary was, 3 times less than those around you, and you performed at a similar or better level, you'd be very quick to chuck your toys out of the pram and say this isn't good enough. So for me, just because it is £15,000 a week, it shouldn't be any different because it's relative to what you've got going on around you. So for me, get paid, mate. You've got 9 siblings to feed. It ain't cheap. So do what you've got to do while you've got the opportunity to do it.
No, and everything you're saying is a fair point, but I really don't agree with that footballer is the same as my job, going into my job tomorrow and I'm getting paid for doing the same job. Footballers, you look at just take a Man United team sheet and just roll it out and put the salaries next to every single player's name, and they're vastly different. Footballers do get paid different wages. They don't all get paid the same. A right winger at Man United, they're not all on the same money, and a striker for Chelsea, they're not all on the same money. So I don't agree with the work analogy that if it was me, of course if it was me, I'd be unhappy if I'm doing the exact same job, because that's just that's the industry we're in, and that's obviously a hell of a lot less than what they're getting.
Yeah.
Let
me fling this part back at you then. So one of the things you mentioned yesterday was about he's only played well this season, and is he a flash in the pan, all that kind of stuff. So you look at players like McAllister, who's been very high profile this season, especially with the fact that he won the World Cup in December with Argentina. You look at players like March, who has been fantastic this season. If you load up their stats for every single season, they've done fuck all before this season. And them, like pretty much everyone in that Brighton team, and it's why Graham Potter got the job that he did. It's why a lot of their players, like a Cucurella and other players, have been linked with high-profile moves, is because they performed as a team very, very well. But March, McAllister, are on about £36,000 a week. So they're not players that have performed for 3, 4, 5 years. They're players that, just like Caicedo, have just started performing this season and worked very well as a team. But they're being paid over double what he is, and all these players around him are as well. So, that's how I see it as well.
But these performances come with a pay rise. Like, we're halfway through the season. He's had a blinder, as you've rightfully said, along with the rest of the team. Some teams have gone on to bigger and better things. As you say, McAllister's getting all the plaudits with March. His time will come. That's just how football works. You can't just, for me, you can't just offer somebody a contract on half a season's worth of goodwill and, fucking hell, there's your pay rise. He's on 15 grand a week. Yes, it's a low. It is low. I think it's like you say, started on 3.5 grand. He's on 15. So in that space of 2 years, he has had a you put in a percentage. It's a massive increase from that as a percentage wise.
500%.
So his time will come. I just think you didn't really used to see this kind of behaviour back in the day. I sound like an old man now, like typical boomer, but I just think why can't people just roll the sleeves up and get their head down and get on with it and just have a full season of good form and see where you are at the end of it. If he's heard things where Arsenal are interested in him and he wants to go to Arsenal, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Like, who wouldn't? Like, it's Brighton, it's Arsenal. It's a massive stepping stone. Arsenal, they're close to. Well, they're my favourites now to win league. So he'd have a Premier League title under his belt for half a season's worth of work. So I can completely understand that. What I don't like is the fact that he's clearly been dropped from training and from the team, and that's telling me as obviously a young lad, it just doesn't seem to have the right attitude for me there. And you're going to disagree, I know you are, by saying he's fighting for what it's worth, but I just think they need some kind of these players need drilling and just get your sleeves rolled up and get your head down until request a transfer, but at the same time you can still be professional about it and get on with your current work.
Yeah, I think that's fair assessment from both of you. So let's move on to the locks and the wild cards and the fourth contestant on the listener lock-in.
Yeah, why don't we? So we're starting with.
Do we have to?
Yeah. So
Yes.
Unfortunately, mate, we do. It's been a bit of a rough week, I will say. So starting with the locks, we'll get straight into it. Dawson, mate, you're back to Fulham. But did you see much on that?
Begrudgingly.
You did, didn't you? I forgot about that. You was it your fourth pick?
No, fifth. I wanted Man United, which were taken. My backup was Sheff Wednesday, which were then taken. My third choice was then Notts County, which was taken. I was then scrambling. I was scrambling while you were picking, thinking, shit, who do I go for now? And just as I saw Spurs, thought, well, I'm going to pick them. You picked Spurs, so I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I absolutely scraped the barrel on Fulham, and yeah. They're a very entertaining game by all accounts, but unfortunately they didn't get the win, and we'll have to go to the Stadium of Light now for a replay. So yeah, gutted.
Looked a good game, to be fair, actually.
Yeah, I think it was about 36 shots on goal, something like that. So end to end by what I've seen. But yeah, unfortunately, my first incorrect lock of the year for the football, but is what it is. It's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, the young got a goal, this lad, didn't he, for Sunderland? Only 15-year-old boy.
Yeah,
bless him. Aggie, you're back Notts County, mate. Well done. 1-0 at home against Halifax, was it?
It was, yeah, and I really don't see Notts County not winning the National League now, if I'm honest.
Is it?
Yeah, I think that we're so close to the deadline now that if Langstaff's not going, I said County would be front runners, but they've also signed Jody Jones, the winger from Oxford in League One, and I still think he's got a bit about him that he can do a job in League One. I think it's just coming back from injury, so they're trying to give him some fitness. And I think that's just going to be a Notts County side now that no one's going to really want to mess with, and they're just going to be a bit too much for Wrexham.
What just very quickly, what do you think on Langstaff? He was, he's a loaded spot favourite when it comes to the scorers section. He got the goal at the weekend. Yeah, true. He only seems to not play or score when I've picked him, and then does every other week. But yeah, he scored the only goal at the weekend. You've said a lot about Notts County's potential in the league this season is their ability to keep hold of him, or inability to keep hold of him, and it seems like it has. What's been the rumours? I've not really seen anything in terms of him being linked to, say, a Championship or a League One club. Like, has it gone quiet? Has it not really been linked, or is there potential for a late move like to Shimanga for Birmingham last year, or in the summer? Sorry.
There's been a couple of links, but they've been very weak links. There's not been anything set in stone or too many real approaches made for him. I think it's a case now of just seeing out the season and then going for him, a bit like what we've already said about Caicedo. Just a case of half a season, let's not jump the gun on him. Shimanga had been scoring goals for a couple of sides before he came to Chesterfield. He was an informed scorer for Borough Wood as well. So with Langstaff, it's a case of he's a new guy on the scene. So let's see just what he can do in a full season. And unfortunately for us, that's going to take Notts County up as champions.
Fair enough. Myself, I backed Tottenham Hotspurs. Felt like a bit of a cheat picking that, but won 3-0 away at Preston. Obviously taking Dawson's pick, so I'll take the win there. And
you're on a roll with the locks, aren't you, at the minute?
I'm doing well with locks, actually. Yeah, I've not done well with pretty much every other pick this week, but I'll take that one. And Kempe, he picked Sheff Wednesday at home against Fleetwood, which obviously finished 1-1. So as a group, we only got 50% on our locks.
Bad week, lads.
Yeah, bad, really bad. Moving on to scorers. I mean, this gets even worse. Skin, you had Christian Dennis.
He got an assist, but not a goal, unfortunately. Is what it is.
Is what it is. Aggie, you picked another loaded sport favourite in Akpom.
Yeah, and I just want to thank Skim for that pick, because if he'd not taken Dennis away from me, I wouldn't have had him.
Motherfucker. And it's really annoying because all week I had someone else lined up, and then about 2 hours before recording, I was just double checking everything like you do, and I was like, I'm going to swap. And the player that I had lined up all week scored a hat-trick, so there's a lesson in that, which I will make sure that I follow going forward.
Is it that Barnett lad?
Yes, Cabamango, so I ain't got his name in front of me.
And Bamba, he's linked with us, to be fair.
Brazilian martial
Is
He
arts.
won't want to come now.
Eddie Gordo on top.
Remember him?
Top boy.
Yeah, I backed Harry Kane, and by default, he didn't even get a sniff on the pitch, so I defaulted that one, and Kemp picked Alexandria Mitrovic, and he didn't score either. So 1 out of a possible 3 on that one, with Kane being a void bet.
You're welcome.
Right.
Cheers, mate. You've carried us in that one. And then lastly, the wild cards. Skin, mate. Barnet. Great call.
Yes, mate. It was.
What do you reckon to that one, Ag?
Yeah, I'll let Ag take that one away.
I don't like that you got it right, but you gave very valid reasons. They are a bogey team for us, and they were 5th in the National League, we're 3rd, and we're so bad defensively at the minute. We're just giving away goals, and when you've got a player like Mbamba that's scoring for fun anyway, he's just going to take the piss with you, and he did.
Can you watch your language, please?
Nope.
You fucking silly cunt.
Whoa.
Wow.
No. Let's move on.
Aggie,
from
mate,
that.
you backed Sunderland. Obviously, we just previously touched on them
Yeah,
there.
Heartbreak Hotel for Sunderland, weren't
Heartbreak
it?
Hotel. Young boy, 15, could have won it for him, but
Why you had him at scorer?
What?
No.
That'd have been a bold claim, wouldn't it? If someone,
Mudge will have had it.
Yeah,
no,
probably.
Sunderland I had as wild card, didn't I? And they
Did.
played very well. And I think in the end, looking back on it, it was quite a good shout for a wild card, especially considering I was scrambling. So I'll take that. But it's what it is.
Fair enough. I backed Ipswich.
Stop
another one.
fucking saying that.
You backed Ipswich. Another one that unfortunately didn't come in. Can't even do an FA Cup game, went it? Burnley 0-0. Yeah, I kept my eye on that one quite a bit, and I thought they might just do it, but no, 0-0. And Kemp, he got his
Vanilla's
right again.
brother.
Vanilla. I've missed that. I've completely missed the joke there.
Because you said 0-0, and I went Vanilla's brother.
Oh, for fuck's sake, that's terrible. No wonder I missed it. Fucking hell. And Kemp's back Brighton there, and he's got a little
Took
cup
it off
set.
Aggie, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm
Cup set
good with
against
that. If
Liverpool.
he'd not taken that, I'd have been 3 out of 3 this week.
Kemp, by the way, shout out to him. He's absolutely flying on his wild cards at the minute. I don't know what he's doing, but he seems to sniff at an underdog. Just can't back a lot, bless him. So yeah,
he's got 25% success rate for locks for the year to date. He's not got a scorer yet, but he's 100% for wild cards. So that makes sense.
That's absolutely mental. That should be all the way around, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, recap on that. Skin 1 of 3. Could do better. Aggie,
Fucking
2 of
boo.
3, mate. You've carried the squad there. Well done, mate.
PB.
PB.
pretty
I've
much.
gone for 50%, 1 of 2 due to Kane, and Kemp's got 1 of 3, and that's the football locks.
Okay, Skin.
Rubbish.
With the
I've
listener
already-
lock-in.
Yes, mate. I've already started prepping for this week, and I will do better. So yes, Chris Murray, the Scotsman, the Glaswegian, the Rangers fan, came in with a high score of 1 to beat, previously set by Kerwin and Aaron. And lads, we have a new leader. Load of sport listener
leader.
lock-in. He got Manchester United as his lock, correct, to beat Reading.
And we're looking 4, 5, 6. How many you got? Big lead.
Yeah. So that's one. His scorer, he had the informed Marcus Rashford, had a goal disallowed just before half time and didn't score in the second half. So that is a cross. But he's on 1 so far with 4 to go. His wild card was Preston to beat your lock, Sam, Spurs, and we've been through that, so we know that was a cross. He had his team Rangers to beat St Johnstone, and despite the fact that St Johnstone went down to 10 men, Rangers couldn't get the 3-0 win that he predicted, and that finished 2-0. He had Middlesbrough and Watford to fight out a 1-1 draw in the Championship playoff race. That finished 2-0 to Carrick's boys Middlesbrough, so that is a cross. But he did, as you mentioned, Sam mentioned, a potential cagey game between Man City and Arsenal, and he correctly predicted a Man City 1-0 win. So,
Unreal, that.
lads, our new leader on the Loaded Sport listener lock-in leaderboard is Chris Murray.
Get him,
with
boy.
a score of 2.
Yeah, beauty.
So they all count, don't they? And if 2 points is enough to get you on top of the leaderboard, it is enough to get you on the leaderboard. So as it stands for the year, Loaded Sport average for the football locks, scorers and wildcards sits at 52% success rate.
Declining.
Listener, it is. and the listener average sits at 20%. So we've had an absolutely shocker of a week, but we're still absolutely destroying our guests. So for anyone that's listening to this and thinks it's easy, so far we're proving you wrong. So this week we've got Dan Malloy joining us. He's
Big Dan.
I've sent him a message this morning. He said he's going to come in with little to no preparation, which, to be fair, well, you say that, but compared to what everyone else has been doing, which is really intensive research, maybe it's not the worst approach to take. We'll see. Do a bit of a thesis on it. But he's looking forward to talking a little bit of golf with Kemp, and he's a Derby fan, Sam. So I'm sure, based on recent form and what happened over the summer, be some couple of interesting topics and questions to discuss between you two.
That's if Kemp turns up.
That is, yeah, might be asleep.
We'll see. Right, and that's it for the football. In just a few moments' time, we'll be back to review the penultimate week of the entirety of the National Football League season and look towards the Super Bowl. Welcome back to episode 26 of Loaded Sport. We're now going to start reviewing the championship weekend of the National Football League. Kicking things off with the Philadelphia Eagles against the San Francisco 49ers.
Well. Stop here, because we have a surprise. We have dragged him back from the depths of hell to join us today to talk about his Philadelphia Eagles. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mujib Sadat, let's have it.
Yo, it's good to be back, boys. It's good to be back. Fly, Eagles, fly, bitches.
Oh, baby. I had to take over from Agbear because I know you won't get any fanfare.
No, yeah. I think you absolutely killed it. It's good to be back, boys. How are we?
Good, mate. All the better for hearing your silky tones.
I'm so happy. What a weekend! What a day yesterday.
Get straight into it.
Talk us, mate. Talk us straight out. What was your emotional roller coaster? Well, it weren't much, was it? You were on top.
It were nerves for about 4 seconds. Then no, I'm fine. It's just good.
Yeah, I woke up yesterday with a lot of messages from close friends, obviously with you lot in lads chat, just asking me how I'm feeling. And a lot of it was, I felt pretty confident. But then I think leading up to maybe an hour before the game, nerves started to kick in. So I was like, let me calm myself down and go for a really intense run. Okay. And yeah, that did nothing, to be honest. I was still very nervous.
Just got the heart pumping even more.
Yeah. But then I think when we scored first, it kind of settled the nerves a little bit. But I think, to be honest, like it felt like it was a really cagey game up until when we went 14-7 up. Because obviously CMC scored an unbelievable touchdown, like one of the angriest runs we've seen. No, and I mean, over the moon. I always say this. I know it's a terrible game for the neutral, but I was so happy that the game kind of panned out like that because
100%.
I could kind of relax and enjoy the fact that we were going to the Super Bowl. You're focusing more on the result than you are the way you win in the championship.
You do right, mate. You do right.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, I have lived through probably 3 really fucking close championship games and lost all 3 of them. I would much rather it go your way when we just fucking batter a team. Trust me, it's a lot more pleasant. Yeah,
it's elation. There's a lot of feelings right now. I mean, thankfully, I've managed to see them win once, but it was. I felt like it was a bit of a fluke. We were on a dream run. This team feel like, we've built something special here with Hurts at the helm as well. So I'm excited, but at the same time, very nervous again because the Chiefs are. They're tough. They're going to be so tough. And Mahomes is just so elusive, isn't he? He's just elite in everything. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And we've not got you for the Super Bowl, so I think we need to get you early.
How do you know? Are you free when we preview for the Super Bowl? I feel like that's big enough to.
Cheeky little 15-minute present.
Yeah, you give me a date and I'll make it work, lads. I'll make it work.
Bless you.
Let's
It's a date.
save it.
Save it. Oh,
Save
I
it,
missed
baby.
that.
Save
I've
it.
missed that.
So we've heard Mudge's opinion from an Eagles side of things. Skin, as a neutral, what did you really think of the game?
Why do you sound so solemn, mate? Like,
Because, mate, I've got to
Because
deal
he's
with.
sounding really happy, mate.
Yeah.
It's fucking good that you all have
He
won,
is
isn't he?
livid.
Yeah, well, look, mate. No, if it's a choice, I'd rather the Eagles have won over the 49ers, naturally. So I'm happy that Mudge has got to the Super Bowl. So congratulations, Mudge.
Thank you, mate.
Wow.
That's nice. Should we end it there? That seems like a really nice note to end it on. Yeah, we'll quickly cover Bengals Chiefs later in the week. But no, in terms of a neutral, I'd mentioned already that I was backing the Niners in terms of who I wanted to win based on a lot of individual players that I like to see have a ring. So that aside, it was just a really disappointing game for the neutral. Brock Purdy, as we know, went down on the first offensive play, the first offensive drive, should I say. And only came back on when they absolutely needed him and didn't really do much because clearly his injury was hindering him and the game was pretty much over by that point anyway. So, yeah, it was just a really disappointing game. It's not the caliber that you expect from a championship game. It's not the caliber that we've come to expect over the last few years with the playoffs. And it's certainly not the caliber of game that we expected from these two teams coming in based on the form and the level of performances that they were putting in. So, yeah, just purely from a neutral's perspective, we said, Sam, didn't we, pretty early that it was just a dead game, which is not a term that you want to use at any point for a championship game, let alone in the first half. It seemed that late burst in the second quarter where Philly got those two touchdowns relatively back to back. That just killed it, and the second half was just a no go, really.
Poor fucking Mudge. We've got him on to buzz about the championship game, and you've just fucking hammered it, saying it were a disgrace.
It was. Adam asked me my opinion, and just purely on the game. Look, Mudge, I'm fucking buzzing, mate. It's always good to have one of our teams in the den. There's a lot of us, and we've got the benefit of all supporting different teams. Yeah. So it's always great to have at least one of those teams being a team that one of us supports. So I'll purely being a Patriots fan, I don't want to hear all this. Mahomes is going to be better than Brady in terms of success, so I'll be rooting for the Eagles. I'll be right there next year, mate, cheering on every drive and every success that the Eagles have and backing them all the way. That's where my heart is now. But yeah, just purely from a game perspective and a game quality, Eagles did the job, and that's all you need to do at the end of the day. But when we really were expecting a high quality game, and unfortunately, we didn't get it on that occasion. But here's what it is; it's going to happen at some point.
No, that's fair enough.
I will chime in. So I think obviously the matchup of the number one offense versus the number one defense was quite prevalent early on. So you saw that although the Eagles could score, the 49ers were a force themselves in terms of stopping the ball, and their linebackers were flying everywhere. I just think the harsh situation was the fact that they just didn't have a serviceable QB, and it put a lot of pressure on their defense, albeit elite. When you spend too much time on that field, it just hinders you because you're just getting tired. And I mean, fair play to us for kind of adjusting because they stopped the pass. Like they made us run the ball, which is very difficult to do, kind of consistently. But thankfully, we managed to execute the RPO perfectly, and I'm thankful that it sounds horrible, but I'm thankful that Purdy did go down because it kind of opened up the opportunity to just kind of make it a comfortable win for us. But as a neutral, I do agree it wasn't the best game, but I mean, I've got kind of that kind of tunnel vision of just making sure we got to the Super Bowl. So it was a good Sunday for me for sure.
No, that's fair enough.
Aggie, I assume you are describing it today as an old-timer based on your love of all things traditional and boring, so...
Game of the weekend for me, that way. No, I enjoy... I know it sounds bad to say. I said to Mudge before the game started, like, best of luck, hope you win, that sort of stuff, and I think that goes without saying against the Niners, but I think on paper they were two very evenly matched sides, and I'd be surprised if we don't see a repeat of this game as the championship game next season, is I think what I said to him as well. I think they're two very good sides, but I think, like you say, with the quarterback situation, the injuries, it made it a little bit difficult for the 49ers, but who gives a shit when the Eagles get to the final? It doesn't really matter, does it, at the end of the day?
It's not final, mate. Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Well, you know what I mean, mate. Obviously, it's the same thing, isn't it? They get to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
Still on football segment, isn't he?
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I mean the 49. It's an interesting situation with the 49ers because they're loaded, but I'm not sure on their cap situation. They seem to pretty much have retained all of their main pieces. Like, are they set for the future, or would they need to ship off any of their players? Because Warner's still pretty much in his prime age, isn't he? Bosa's still in his mid-20s. Like, they are built for a long run, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they've got another 2-3 years in them. I don't think they're due yet to be having to pay anyone massively or losing pieces, things like that. So certainly for next season at least, I think they'll be pretty much the same side that they've had in place this year. It'd just be the quarterback situation more than anything.
Yeah,
true that.
I did say this yesterday to you lads. I do think they're a quarterback away from being pretty much dominant in that conference. Yeah, because I mean they've got every facet of their team pretty much sorted, haven't they?
Yeah. Did you stay up for the later game?
I stayed up for the first half, and I kind of dipped in and out of the third, and managed to see the T. Higgins kind of catch for the touchdown.
Mossed him, didn't he? Mossed him.
Yeah, he is a unit.
Yeah, he's good.
He is very underrated, and I think he's definitely got wide receiver 1 potential. But no, I sadly missed it. But I mean, Mahomes managed to finally get over the Burrow, the Burrow kind of stigma that's been hanging over him. The Burrowhead, yeah.
Burrowhead my ass, as Kelsey said.
Well, they went in, didn't they? But fair play. They were just giving what they'd got. So,
I mean, they took that personally, didn't they? I mean, Travis Kelce in his post kind of interviews just absolutely slating the Cincinnati mayor.
Yeah, he went prime fucking Dwayne the Rock Johnson, didn't he? Mayor of Jabroni and know your role and all this kind of stuff. So, but I don't know if any of you lads saw, but the Cincinnati mayor tweeted after saying, like, absolute fair play. Bengals were great. Chiefs were just a bit better. Like, I gave them shit. Like, I'm happy to take back what they said. So, fair play.
I didn't see that.
He got humbled, didn't he?
He did. He was humble about it. So.
Yeah. Didn't have much choice, but sounds right. Oh, final score 23-20, was it?
Yep.
Yes, that was it. Field goal with 3 seconds left, 45 yards from Harrison Butker.
Okay, he's clutching in them playoffs. I think is the leading Chiefs scorer in history. I think with that, I've seen him break the. I was same as you, Mudge. I watched it till half time, and I think they got a field goal just before half time. I think he was on 98 points in the postseason for the Chiefs, and then obviously he's got one at the end there as well. So so over 100 points for the Chiefs in postseason alone, most in history.
Wow, he is. I mean, when we go back to that Bills game when Mahomes and Kelce led them down with 13 seconds left in the game.
All-time game.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they did unbelievably well to get in the position, but Butker is just automatic, isn't he? Like he's just so impressive. But I mean, I think an interesting fact is every matchup between those two since Burrow's come into the league has actually kind of finished with a difference of three.
Three every game. Yeah, it's weird.
It's been a field goal every time, hasn't it?
So weird. Yeah, I think.
Job done, but what about that play from Asai right at the death?
Bonehead play.
You can't do it at that level, can you?
See his teammate fucking berating him in tunnel on way into locker room.
But that's it. That's just a 15-yard penalty. Like it's undisciplined week 6, but it's a championship game. You're in probably the loudest, most hostile, ground in the whole of the NFL.
Yeah,
you're tied with a final few seconds left, and you give a 15-yard penalty to give them a 45-yard field goal. Like that literally has cost them. Chiefs may have well gone on to win in overtime. They might. It would have took a great play to give them the opportunity to do it in normal time, but that cost them their season.
I think I seen on Good Morning Footballs they said that penalty increased their percentage. Obviously, you get this percentage to win nowadays, don't you?
Yeah.
In game, and I think there was something like 38% before the foul. That after the foul, it was like 55%. Jumped up that much straight away just by one penalty.
Wow,
you can't do it.
It kind of had. It kind of reminded me a little bit. If I remember correctly, am I thinking of the right player? Where Frank Clark jumped off sides against Brady in
Patriots
game.
Yeah.
And it just shows like discipline is one of the most important things in those situations. It counts as clutch, doesn't it? You have to stay focused and calm. And
that's why Joe Burrow because he's got ice in his veins. He stays disciplined. The occasion, the time, the scenario, and the situation doesn't impact him. He just gets the job done based on what's in front of him. And that, like you said there, Mudge, that's the difference between being disciplined and not.
Yeah, I think if we're shouting out a quarterback, though, it has to be Patty Mahomes, doesn't it? I mean,
definitely.
This whole playoff run has just been like a pure legacy playoff run for me. Like, these are the ones that you remember. He's been hurt, obviously, with the Jags game. He was practically on one leg. He's come back, not necessarily a short week, but 1 week for a high ankle sprain just isn't the amount of time you need. And his stat line was absolutely phenomenal. It were down his first 3 choice receivers. Kelsey were banged up. He were losing defensive players all over the field. And I just thought it were absolutely unbelievable from Mahomes. That's the sort of thing you need from your leaders, and he stepped up big time.
Yeah, and I think his playoff record is insane, isn't it? I mean, he's reached a championship game every year as a starter. Like, I have never seen anything like that ever. Like, I don't think a QB's ever started that kind of streak. I mean, he is ridiculous. He has my full respect, but sadly, he's going to go 1-2 in the Super Bowl.
I like it.
That's what I was going to say, Sam. You mentioned there about it being a legacy sort of defining playoff run, but that all depends on what happens in 2 weeks' time. Because if Chiefs win, it will be like, look at how he got there without the caliber of players he was missing. He did it with the injury and all that kind of stuff. 100%. Whether he only wins those 2 or he goes on to win 3, 4, or 5, like this year and this run will be the one that's probably most remembered. But if he doesn't win, is he clutch? Can he get the job done? All this, all the talk we've seen sort of Rodgers get into it in the later end of his career with him struggling to get that second ring. Do those conversations start to come in with Mahomes? So I think that kind of conversation around his legacy
I think that'd be a bit harsh on this particular run. Rodgers has rightfully had it because he's like, for example, we lost at Niners at home in the snow last year. Like, that should have been our game. Year before that, we lost Tampa Bay in the at home again championship games. These are games we should be winning. But that Mahomes has played injured essentially all the way through it, and to come up against this Eagles team are absolutely nothing to be sniffed at. If anyone loses to these, it's by no means a disgrace. I don't think you can bash him if he does lose this one.
Yeah. Let me just clarify. I'm not saying that I think that. I'm just saying I think they're the kind of conversations that will come in because Mudge, you mentioned that stat there about he's been a starter for 5 years. He's made 5 championship games. But if this time in 2 weeks when we're doing our review show after the Super Bowl and he's still only got 1 ring to his name, those conversations will start to come in because how many championship games did Manning go to? Did Favre go to? Did Rodgers go to? Like all these top quality players that at some point were considered absolutely unbelievable at some point because they didn't achieve the level of success that, say, Brady did. That's why those conversations came in. So if in 2 weeks' time he's been to 5 championship games and he's been to 3 Super Bowls and he's absolutely unbelievable, but he's only got 1 ring, at some point, that's why I'm just saying at some point that will creep in if he doesn't start converting that success into more rings on his finger. But we'll see.
I'll make a point on top of that. I think for me, I'm quite neutral on Mahomes. I like him. I don't like his brother. I don't like his wife.
That's another segment for another day.
Yeah, I will make a point on how great Mahomes is, right? I personally think Brady is the greatest of all time, but Brady has been helped a lot of the time with pretty much elite defensive units at times. Mahomes, I think the Chiefs' success relies solely on his play at times. And he has elevated that team to a point where they're getting to a championship game, even if they have a mid defensive unit. And don't get me wrong, you can't question his clutchness because he's just shown time and time again he can finish games. Now his Super Bowl record, it is so harsh to judge him on the biggest stage, but I do agree with you in some sense that if he's got 1 ring to his name and 5 championship appearances, that's quite worrying. But I mean, I think that team barely make divisional without him. Like, he's that much of an impactful player. That's just my 2 pence on Mahomes, but fuck him, he's going down.
What do you reckon, Aggie?
Yeah, I've got to agree. Mahomes has just been a standout player his entire career, hasn't he? And he's proven time and time again. I think I questioned at the beginning of the year. I know this probably showcases just how little knowledge of the NFL I have in comparison to you three. When the likes of Tyreek left, and he had to go with a completely different set of wide receivers. Even into the championship game, Sam, like you said, some of them weren't available. Kelsey was banged up, and he still just from absolutely nowhere turned games on their head and won the games for the Chiefs. And like Mud just pointed out, he's such an important piece for that Chiefs side to get to the Super Bowl. Obviously not the final, the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So yes, the Chiefs against the Eagles. Mudge, once again, thank you very much for your insight, and we look forward to hearing that hopefully on the Super Bowl week. Just before we do call it for this episode, Sam or Skin, I'm not sure which one of you has got them written down, want to go through the predictions that we did have, although they don't count towards the stats on the spreadsheet.
Ooh. Do you want me to take that, Sam? I've got them in front of me,
you can take it away, mate. Take it away.
It weren't that great, to be honest. I predicted Niners to win by 3 points with a Deebo Samuel touchdown, so 3 crosses there. Aggie, you had the Eagles to win by 4, 17-13, and Ayuk to score, so you got Eagles winning. Sam, you had Eagles winning by 3, which, as we know, is incorrect on the score, but you did have Eagles putting 31 on the board, so I'll give you a shout out for that.
Wow.
Is it?
31-28.
Do you like that one,
I
bud?
did not know that.
He did, yeah.
The jinx
Who
is
is
over.
this guy?
The jinx is over.
You had
Alert the elders.
Devonta Smith to score a touchdown. He didn't score a touchdown.
Fuming.
However, he
That
will
cunt,
go
honestly,
down.
that cunt is just fucking ruining my day, isn't he? It started off at fantasy, traded the cunt, and he's just every time I back him, it's the only time he doesn't turn up.
Oh,
You
yeah.
You don't like him. He said the C word 3 times in about 7 words. But yeah, what a catch he made. Although Nana should have been on the ball to throw a red flag, but it'll go down in history as a catch. So what a catch it was. And Kemp had Eagles to win by 4 with a CMC touchdown. So he got 2 out of 3 there, which is the best result. I had Chiefs to win 21-20, so close but not close enough, with a Jamar Chase touchdown, which didn't come in. Aggie, you had Bengals to win by a point with a McKinnon touchdown, so nada across the board there. Sam, you had Bengals to win by 3 with a Kelsey touchdown, so unlucky, mate, but you did get the Kelsey score there. And Kemp had Chiefs to win by 3, which they did. He did have 27-24, but give him a shout out because he got by 3 right with a Joe Mixon touchdown, who he had probably the worst game he's had all season in terms of his rushing stats. But yeah, Kemp did pretty well there, to be fair. He had Eagles to win with a CMC touchdown, and he had Chiefs to win by 3.
Yeah.
So shout out to Kemp there for his NFL performance.
I have a question. Does Jerick McKinnon have Adam's nudes?
Other way around.
Every week, and honestly, he is like a bit part player at best, but Adam just chooses it like he's at RB1.
Go on, Aggie, talk us through it.
There's not really much to say, is there? He had a good end to the season, was scoring quite high in my fantasy league and helped me win a league, so I stand by him. And
that's what
I'm
it was. He had
paying
his
for it
fantasy
now.
blinkers on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm paying for it now, but at the time, why not? But yeah. Lads, thanks very much for joining us to go through it. Join us on Friday when Dan Malloy will have a go at the listener lock-in and we'll start to preview the weekend sport in action.
Yeah, boy.